All right, welcome. So this video is why even start self-improvement, right? So this video is just going to explain why you should actually start self-improvement. Is it worth all the pain and suffering and all the difficulty? Is it worth, quitting my drug that I've been attached to for the last 2 years? Or is it really worth deleting TikTok for good? I'm going to explain in this video exactly why it's actually worth taking on this journey and going down this specific path in life. And I'm going to explain to you how it changed my life and transformed my life as well. And then I'm going to give you just a basic template, like a basic outline of how to start and begin your self-improvement journey, what things to focus on within your self-improvement. So before we get into the video, for those of you who are serious on your self-improvement and do want to get into this journey, but even for those who are already on their path but need help getting to the next level, I've created a community called the Academy of Self-Mastery, where I'm bringing together like-minded individuals with similar goals and who are very serious on their self-improvement. And I will be giving you guys all of the education, all of the courses, all of the knowledge and training that I possibly can in order to help you get to the next level in your self-improvement, help you to achieve more of your goals, and specifically help you create a routine and protocol specific to your goals that will help you get there as quickly and effectively as possible. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and click the first link in the description. That'll bring you to my Instagram page, and just send me a quick DM. I'm currently running early access, so if you go to my Instagram and you request early access, I will get you on the waiting list for early access. You'll be the first to get the link when the course goes live, when the program goes live. And for those of you who request early access, from now until we actually release the program, I will be giving you guys early access to all of the courses that are going into the program. So if you ask for early access, I will send you links to privated YouTube videos or unlisted YouTube videos, and those videos will contain the courses that will be going into the program. So you'll be able to watch and use some of the courses before even buying in. But that's just a small bonus. The main thing is if you want to get early access and get a discounted price and be some of the first to be inside of the program, go ahead and DM me that with that first link in my description. But that's all I have for that. Let's get into the video. When I was 14, I decided I was going to be a professional snowboarder. I thought I was going to be the best in the world, and I still do. But at that time, it was funny and ironic because I was a 14-year-old kid who was halfway through a school year he had not participated in whatsoever, right? I went through half of my freshman year without doing any schoolwork. And I like to blame this on the whole COVID thing, and school was way different. But, I went half of that year without even thinking about school. I was smoking weed every day. I was drinking alcohol with my friends. And I was just a straight degenerate. I'd spent my entire life up until this point skipping out on sports to play video games and watch TV shows all day and go to my grandparents' house and eat fucking ramen noodles and mac and cheese all day, I could say typical kid shit, but the way I was wired back then, I could have done better and I should have done better. And, I was 14 years old, and I realized that I wanted to be the best in the world at snowboarding. I realized that's what I wanted to pursue. And in realizing that, I also realized how much work I needed to do on myself, my mental health, my development as just an individual. I needed to grow up a lot. I needed to learn discipline. I needed to, build up my fitness. I was extremely out of shape, and yet telling myself I was going to be a professional snowboarder, a professional athlete. And so I realized very quickly into this journey, it was about a year into this path, into this journey, I was trying my best to just optimize all areas of my life and bring everything together in a way that I could be on this trajectory of constant improvement, constant development. And then I discovered self-improvement. And funny enough, self-improvement was this lifestyle designed and catered towards constant growth, constant evolution. And so I fell in love with the concept. I fell in love with the idea of making money online and online business. And then that got me into the deeper side of the self-improvement space. I started learning about dopamine detoxing and basically just becoming more productive with your day. I learned about deep work blocks and how they work. I learned how to schedule your time and use your time wisely so that you can get everything you need done in a singular day, and basically how to optimize for specific goals, how to be able to work towards those goals without putting off other goals, and being able to maintain a clear and structured routine, but one that is also very effective at getting me towards my goals. So I started learning about all these different things. I started learning about habits. I started learning about mindset. I started learning about identity change. And all of this tied together to me deciding to take on this self-improvement path. I didn't know that I was already really on it, but I discovered it and realized this was absolutely the path that I needed to be on. This was the key that I was missing, the thing that I was trying to find within all of the other things I was doing in my life to optimize for growth in my sport. And so I began this journey. I started the new habits. I had a habit tracker. I was meditating every day. I was journaling. And most importantly, I was training and I was working on developing my skills and getting better as an athlete as well. But I was also trying to start a business. I was doing all these things at once. And very, very quickly, everything changed in my life, right? Very, very quickly, I went from this kid who wanted to be an athlete to an actual prospect, right? An actual, an individual who actually has that potential, right? So before, if you look at me, you'd see, all right, he's good, but, he's nowhere near like professional level. He's not like one of these prodigy kids who's just insane right now. And very, very quickly, within a year, 2 years, I got myself to a level that, A, I didn't even know that was possible. I didn't even think I could get to this level. And B, I'm at a level where with more development, more training, and just by continuing on this process, I can all but guarantee results in my goal. I can all but guarantee that I will go exactly where I want to go. And that's because I've seen the amount of progression I've been able to make and in the amount of time that I've been able to make it with the amount of effort that I've had to put in order to get there. And so by applying a little bit more effort and by continuing on this path and staying focused and consistent, I can all but guarantee that I will become the best in the world. And so this is the power of self-improvement. This is the power of this path. This is the power of this journey. Right? I went from someone who was literally not an athlete. I had never played a sport in my life. I had been going to the gym for a year, and that's about it. That's the only credentials I had as an athlete, right? To being considerably the best at my local resort. We have a small resort though, so like I'm not gonna act like that's a big deal, but I am easily considerably the best there because I'm the only one training at this level. I'm the only one doing this stuff. I mean, there's some skiers that are definitely better than me, but skiing's way easier. Now I'm playing. But snowboarding wise, I'd say I'm probably the best, and I'm considerably the best. And the tricks that I've learned since my last season will take me to a level that's completely uncomparable to where I was last year as well. And so like these like giant leaps of growth are happening because my entire lifestyle is optimized for growth and evolution. My entire lifestyle is optimized to become better. And self-improvement itself makes every area of your life better. It increases your mind and your mental health and your ability to use your mind. It increases your physical health, right? You become healthier and more fit and in shape when you start working out, when you start eating healthy. When you live this as a lifestyle, when it becomes a part of who you are, it can completely transform every single other area of your life. And so that is the power of this practice, is that it doesn't directly change things. It won't directly help you make money. It won't directly make you a great athlete. But if coupled with the right amount of work and training, it can absolutely 100% take you to that level if you utilize it correctly. And so in this video, I'm going to explain why you should start. I'm going to explain what you can actually experience and expect to experience on this journey. But then I'm going to give you a guideline and points to focus on within this journey, things to ensure that you're progressing in within this journey, and things to implement and use within this journey in order to see those results that I'm talking about, continual growth and exponential growth and expansion within your specific field. So if you're an entrepreneur, seeing more growth in your business, right? If you are an athlete, seeing more growth and development within your training. So what actually makes self-improvement so great? And I just explained why I think it's so great, because of that specific experience that I had with it. Learning how to implement lifestyles and behaviors and habits and mindsets that would tie everything together and optimize for my growth. One thing that I do see a lot is either athletes or entrepreneurs who are training very, very hard, working very, very hard, and other than their sport or their business, they don't have something keeping them focused. They don't have something that is like bringing them more growth, right? Most default to instant gratification after the work is done, right? And the key is to get as much work done as you can, work as much as you can, train as hard as you can, and live that lifestyle, but then fill the other time with more delayed gratification activities, more things that you can do. Meditation is a perfect resting activity, right? You say, oh, you can't be working all day, you can't do these things all day because you'll get burnt out. Well, if you take time during the day to do something like a meditation, you won't get burnt out, right? That's the key. You won't get burnt out if you're optimizing your lifestyle for these types of habits. Because meditation, what does meditation do? It recenters you. It brings your energy back to a stable state and back to a centered state where you can then direct it again, right? You're not tired, and it's not that you don't have energy. It's just that you've kind of lost control of it a little bit. It's started to drift a bit too much, and your consciousness is a little too expanded to focus it and concentrate it. And so a meditation can focus your consciousness, fixate your consciousness on your body, and then that will center your energy in the same place. And therefore, it's easier to use. And when it feels more readily available, that's what we feel as having energy. And so self-improvement is so great just because it's a lifestyle that guarantees results. If you live this lifestyle and you're working towards your goals, you can all but guarantee results towards those goals. And I say all but guarantee because I cannot promise you anything. If God doesn't want you to experience it, he won't let you experience it. But I can all but guarantee that if you align your life with it, and you align the extra parts of your life with this lifestyle of growth and development and evolution, I can say that it is pretty likely that you will achieve your goals. It's not very unlikely. And the other thing is that it gives you a path out. It means that you aren't stuck where you are. It means that you can actually change and evolve and become a better version of yourself, right? You're not stuck with the default script. You can rewrite the script with enough work and enough effort. And so self-improvement is the example of that, right? Self-improvement is a lifestyle designed and catered towards living like that, right? Or not living like that, but it's the lifestyle that can allow that type of transformation, right? It is the lifestyle that can give you that sort of transformation, to go from where you are now, to go from in a rut, in a shitty state, being a bum, I guess you could say. You're being a bum, you're being a loser, and you have nothing going for yourself, right? It can take you from this place to a place of being successful. And that's just beautiful, right? That process, that journey from unsuccessful to successful is just incredible, right? It's amazing to watch. It's amazing to experience myself. It's something I'm going through. And yeah, it's a beautiful experience because it teaches you that you can change and transform anything. Like, there is absolutely nothing that you cannot do in this world if you're willing to make the changes required to do it. And self-improvement is an example of that. So next thing, I kind of talked about this. I did touch on this a bit, but I'm just going to briefly go over it again. Continual progress and exponential growth. This is the main thing with self-improvement that I was attached to and addicted to, because I realized my lifestyle, my habits, literally optimized for me to go the opposite direction from where I was going. My habits, my lifestyle, my mindset was literally making it impossible for me to train, was making it impossible for me to get much out of my training, impossible to stay consistent, impossible to even just believe in myself enough to really go for this. And so I realized that I needed a lifestyle. I needed to replace these habits and find something that could fill the rest of my life, because I was still training, right? I was smoking weed and I was watching porn and all this shit. But at the same time, I was training every day. And so I just needed to find a way to replace those other habits that were hindering my growth, instead of, maybe I thought, oh, I need more training, or, oh, I need, more consistency, or I need more intensity. None of that was true. The only thing that was true was I needed to keep the consistency with the training and remove all of the habits around it that were hindering my growth. And so that's what I've experienced now. Since I've been able to remove those addictions, I'm seeing much more growth, much more progress in the things that I'm working on. YouTube, for example. I went a period of time where I stopped uploading, and I've said this 1,000 times, but it was one of the biggest mistakes I've made on my YouTube journey. But what happened when I came back was I had to redevelop my skill of recording and creating content. And so because the rest of my lifestyle was optimized for self-improvement up until the point that I started recording again, I was able to just get right back into it. Because, I had still been practicing the knowledge that I was teaching, but also because living in self-improvement meant that, my brain was already active and optimized for work, for engagement and work. I was ready to develop the skill by just continuing to do the repetitions. And so since I'm on self-improvement and I'd been growing a lot in my sport and in my self-development, I was able to jump right back into it and with a few repetitions get back to where I was. And now I'm starting to get to a point where I'm better than I was before. And that's the goal, is you want to be better than you were before. But obviously, I was playing catch up because of the break that I took. So this means that I can continue to progress in every area of my life. There's always continual progression. And this should be a positive sign for you as well, because that means if there's a season of your life where you have to focus on business, that means your physique isn't just going to completely fall off and you'll never be able to get back there. It just means you might have to apply the same techniques that got you there in the first place, right? You went to the gym 5 days a week and ate really clean. Well, okay. Now you're going to have to apply that again in order to get the physique back. But it's fine because you focused on your business and you developed your business. And by staying in this specific lifestyle, in this self-improvement lifestyle, instead of, making it easy for yourself by working 12 hours a day and then you have 4 hours a day to fuck off and just do whatever. What you should do and what you want to do is create habits that surround the rest of your day that will continue to keep you into a flow state, either help you rest and recover, or just optimize your condition for work and for engagement. So what does that mean? Things like meditation that make you more present, more engaged. I think it makes you smarter because you have more access to consciousness, and consciousness is where intelligence comes from. So all of these things tied together means that just by meditating for 10 minutes after I'm done working instead of scrolling on my phone means that the next day I'm going to be better at working. And so you can have these habits that continue to help you grow. But by that, because you're never halting your momentum and stopping your growth, you actually get to experience exponential growth, exponential results. And so that's something that you only get to experience by compounding this momentum. And you can only compound momentum when you are continuing its flow, right? If you build a little bit of momentum here by working and then you destroy it all by doing this bad activity, whatever this bad activity is, you can't continuously build momentum, and you can't build enough momentum to experience this exponential gain. And so the next thing I have is why people struggle so much getting on this path. Why don't more people talk about it? Why don't more people actually do it? And why are there, 90% of gurus on the internet talking about it, but not actually following through on what they talk about? This is just because you have to change. It requires change. And change is I don't know why, it's the most difficult thing humans can experience. And yet it's one of the most important skills that you can have. Adaptability is the most important skill that you can have as a human being. Not in your career, not in your sport, although very important for your career, very important if you play a sport. But simply because if we are not adaptable, we cannot evolve, we will die. We will be destroyed by this world, as the world is always changing. And so if we're not able to change with it and evolve with it, then we will just be thrown to the curb. We will be destroyed, and we will be killed, and we will die, and we will be repurposed. Our energy will be repurposed, so on and so forth. Meaning, we need to be able to change. We need to be able to go through changes. We need to be able to adapt when the stimulus is right. When we're experiencing pain because of our current lifestyles and our current situations, we need to be able to evolve. We need to be able to adapt. We need to be able to grow. But most cannot. And for most, it is just excruciating to think about the idea of change. So that's it. That's why most people struggle to get on this path, is because it requires change. But if you're as invested into this video as I believe you are, watching for 22 minutes, that means that you want the change. You want the results of the change, at least, right? And so I will leave you with this. Make sure that you go through with that change, right? Make sure that you don't resist that change. That was one of the things that held me back for so long. I resisted the change. I did not want to change myself. And that got me to a place where I was stuck. I was fixated on growing and becoming a better person, but I just couldn't, because I was unwilling to put down my ego, drop the things that I was doing that I was attached to, and just get to work. I knew what I had to do, but I refused to do it because it required me changing my routine. It required me doing something different than my brain had planned on me doing for this hour. And so I struggled for a very long time. But because I focused on pushing through, because I decided I wasn't going to be held back by these things, I was able to break through to the other side. And now looking back, I can see that that change that I could have made, the original time that I had the desired change, was so much easier than all of the pain that I experienced trying to fight and resist that change. Now I'm going to explain why you should actually start this journey, why I believe you should get on this path. So the first thing is optimizing your life for growth, right? When you optimize your life for growth, no matter what you're pursuing and at what time in your life, you will be able to pursue it to a higher degree, and you'll be able to grow and progress within it a lot faster and a lot easier, and you'll make more permanent change because you are optimizing yourself for adaptability, you are optimizing yourself for growth and development and evolution. And so when you work on something, you ingrain the knowledge that you get much deeper, because if you're reading, for example, you're developing the skill of comprehending knowledge. And so in your free time, you're developing your skill of comprehending knowledge. And so when you focus on, in work, learning a new skill, you can learn it much faster and much easier as a result of that. The next thing is increasing confidence organically. So confidence is something that is the result of having evidence that you can do the thing that you say you're going to do. That's all that confidence is. So when people boast, when people brag, when people try to project their egos or project their success onto other people, this is an example of false confidence. This is ego-driven confidence. Organic confidence, in the sense that I'm talking about, is confidence developed from having evidence that you can do what you say you're gonna, that you can do and will do what you say you're gonna do. So the way we increase confidence organically is by collecting wins. And what does self-improvement do? Well, we collect the wins of our work and our training, the essentials. But then we go home and we meditate and we collect a win. And then we decide to journal because we had some insights. That's a win. And then we eat a healthy meal. That's a win. And then we sit down and we read for a couple hours. That's a win. And if it was our work day, we go to the gym after, and that's a win. Versus we win by working and then we go home and then we keep losing, right? What is a loss? Well, I got home, now I'm going to scroll on my phone for a bit. And I didn't get any insight scrolling on my phone, so I'm not going to journal. I'm just going to keep scrolling. And then I'm hungry, but I don't want to stop scrolling. So I'm going to go and just make some shitty food. I'm going to, throw some jalapeno poppers in the air fryer. I did that the other day. It's fine. But whatever. The point is that you're choosing the easy options. You're choosing the easy routes. That individual, that second example, that person, they're not stacking more wins, right? And so they don't have the same confidence as the individual who comes home and just keeps winning, right? The person who's not winning, however, actually feels more tired. That's the funniest part about it. This is like the ironic thing that I personally need to get over. I'm scared to work more because I feel like if I work too much, if I put too much into my schedule, I'm going to feel like shit. I'm going to feel tired. I'm going to be burnt out. But every time that I've done the opposite, every time that I have put more into my schedule and done more in the day, every day that I do more that same day, like let's say I have a day where I do, 2 full days blocks of work, because my full day of work isn't like a crazy amount. I can easily do like 4 or 5 of them in a day. So like I do 2 full blocks of work, and I do a training session, and I go to the gym, and then I do yoga, and I breath work, and I meditate, all that stuff. When I do all of that in one day, I feel more energy by the end of the day. I feel more energized by the end of the day than I would if I did, just worked and went home and fucked off for the rest of the day, right? I'm resting, technically, so I should be recovering, but in reality, I don't have as much energy because I'm not engaged and therefore using that energy. My brain isn't required to present that kind of energy to me, and so I don't feel it. You don't have energy, but that's just because you're not doing anything, right? So increasing confidence organically, that's a cool benefit, because when we win constantly, we just become more confident in ourselves. I mentioned energy levels, and that's another thing, but we just become more confident in ourselves. We have more belief in ourselves, and that belief in ourselves is a large part of why it has such a big impact on other areas of your life. I don't believe I'd have the confidence to pursue my YouTube channel if I didn't start self-improvement and begin winning in the background first. More capability in other areas. So like I just said, confidence is one of the reasons that this is the case. You have more capability in other areas of life. But also, because your lifestyle is optimized for growth, because you're becoming the absolute best version of yourself, well, what does that come with? That comes with more intelligence. That comes with more awareness. That comes with a healthier body, healthier mind. That comes with more energy. That comes with a deeper spiritual connection. That comes with a deeper connection to the people around you. All of these things add up to you having more capability in all areas of life. The reason I'm able to teach these videos without like these long elaborate scripts, like I have a script, but it's just an outline. The reason I can do these videos without this long and elaborate script is just because I've worked so much on myself, learned so much knowledge, studied so many books, so many courses, so many videos on YouTube, that I just have the knowledge to pull from. I have the confidence to sit here and present myself and speak and look myself in the face and analyze. Because before I'd do this and I'd be awkward, right? I wouldn't be able to look at myself. I wouldn't be able to listen to myself speaking. That would throw me off. Like, all of these things would have thrown me off before, but now it's just normal. It's like, it's fine. It doesn't feel as intense or scary because I have the confidence to know that I can work through all of the skills I need to work through in order to do it correctly, right? The thing I was afraid of was not doing it right, but by being on self-improvement, I can very quickly learn how to do it right. And like, for example, because I spent so much time reading and learning, I have all this knowledge to pull from, and so I can make these videos very easily. These videos don't take as much work for me because I put in the work for the last 4 years. And same thing with my training. I learn tricks way quicker now than I did back when I was 14, 15, 16 years old. And that should be a shock for some of you guys, because as you get older, it becomes more and more difficult to learn these new things. But I've found that as I get older, it becomes easier because my energy is increasing. I'm becoming more aware. I'm becoming stronger. I'm growing into my body better. And so I'm able to do some of these tricks easier than I could back then, because back then I was still going through puberty. My body was still developing. And so like everything was awkward. Everything felt off. I felt like I was just throwing myself around. I had very little control of my body. And so because I've been on self-improvement, I've been developing my strength in the gym. I've been developing my athleticism outside the gym. I've been training a lot. in a lot of different ways over the years. And so I've developed all of these different things that optimize me to be able to do what I do now. And that's like the big key, is that it's separate areas of your life that all tie together to the main area. And the main area is your business, your sport, whatever you're pursuing, that's your main thing, your main goal. It all brings it back to that one thing, right? And it makes it so that you can push in that one thing much further than you ever could without it. The next thing is breaking cyclical patterns and consciously developing your own. So it's like we have all these cyclical patterns, we have all these unconscious patterns within us. And so what we're doing is we're breaking these and we're destroying them and we're replacing them with our own. We're creating our own consciously. And so this means that we're no longer all these unconscious patterns and habits. We consciously create those habits. And so that is key to becoming more of who you are. That is key to creating any type of change in your life, is being able to consciously develop and create your life and change the patterns that you have to replace them with ones that you want to have. More opportunities and a better quality of life. This one's pretty self-explanatory, but you will have more opportunities just because you are more optimized for them. Think about this. And this is a rule that I had for myself when I was still smoking. If I am smoking during the day, I cannot record YouTube videos. That's just a non-negotiable. I will never record YouTube videos high. And so if I was to, let's say, do some work in the morning, smoke some weed, and then all of a sudden I get an amazing business idea, right? I get the best business idea ever, right? It's the most perfect YouTube video I could have ever created. But, I gotta wait till tomorrow morning to record it because I'm stoned now. Whereas instead, if I had gone home, meditated, then came up with that insight, then I would be in a state optimized to go and take up that opportunity. And that's just one specific example. There's other examples as well. When you're on this path, you just glow more, you attract more people, you attract more opportunities because you are living in alignment with your best self. And that is the version of you that is capable of achieving the goals you have. That is the version of you who can attract all of the opportunities to achieve that goal. And so by living in alignment with that, you allow the space within yourself for these opportunities to actually come to you. When you're closed off, when you're, in your head, when you're kind of like back and forth with your goals, these opportunities can't present themselves to you because you're not ready for them. Optimized to always be engaged in work. Okay, so yeah, this one's cool. This one basically is just I'm always in a state where I can work. So if you present to me like a script at 2 p.m. and, obviously like all is in alignment and I have the time and stuff, you present to me a script at 2 p.m., I can lock in and create that video within, 30 minutes to an hour because that's how long it takes me to record. So I'm always in that state. Right? 2 p.m. is normally when I'd have a crash, right? I'm usually like, all right, fuck everything by like 2 p.m. So I'll usually like eat a quick meal and go work out or something. But usually by 2 p.m. I'm like, I cannot be bothered to work or anything like that. But that's more of a preference than a necessity, because if at 2 p.m. you present to me work, I will be ready for it. I will be able to engage in it. I will be able to complete the task like that. Whereas before, it might have taken me a few days to mentally prepare to do the task and then actually do it, right? So you're always in the best state to enter flow. That means that you're basically always optimized to get right into flow state because you're meditating. You're not distracting yourself with the bullshit. And you're present and you're aware and your energy's active and your energy's flowing as well. And so you're always in the state to be able to just quickly snap into a flow state, right? And you're also in this state to not only enter flow state and I can engage and work easier, but you can produce your best work as a result of this as well. Right? So when you're on self-improvement, like for me, because I'm on self-improvement, I'm creating the best videos I've ever made in my life. I'm creating some of the best content for courses that I've ever made. I've developed many communities. I've developed many courses. I've written a ton of ebooks, and all of them were shit compared to what I'm doing now. And that's just because I'm more on my self-improvement now than I ever have been before. So how to start self-improvement. This is the one that I bet everybody's been looking forward to. And if you've earned it by making it 40 minutes into the video, pay attention, because this is what you've been waiting for this entire time. So how to start self-improvement. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is a dopamine detox. You have to address the dopamine issue before you can get into any of the other parts of this journey. So the dopamine detox is going to be step one. You have to remove any bad stimulation. So TikTok and scrolling, right? Short form content. And honestly, YouTube as well, right? I will say you can watch my videos. No, because I purposely make my videos long form and educational. So if you watch YouTube content, watch videos like mine, where they are long, just people talking and teaching you information. That stuff is super valuable, so good for your brain, but also, it's going to keep you away from the short form stuff. And also reduce that down as much as possible. Don't replace your 4 hours a day of TikTok with 4 hours of YouTube. Replace 4 hours a day of TikTok with like 3 hours of work and then an hour of YouTube maybe. And so you basically are removing instant gratification activities. So any types of drugs, alcohol, junk food, porn and sex, and social media. You're removing those things and you're replacing them with their delayed gratification alternatives, right? So, for example, there's a delayed gratification alternative to everything. So, for example, social media and drugs are usually just entertainment and changing and controlling your state. So, meditation can optimize for the drugs thing because you're just trying to alter your state. And if you can learn to do that consciously, you don't need drugs. And then if, let's say social media, it's an entertainment issue, well, you don't actually need to be entertained. You should really just be engaged in work. You should be entertained by work. And if you need entertainment, you should go outside and play. And you should do some type of sport, or you should exercise in some capacity. And then so you can replace all these habits with something else. So like sex and porn, you can replace with sexual transmutation and alchemy, right? There are delayed gratification alternatives to everything. Bad food, you can just eat the healthy alternatives to that, right? So dopamine detoxing is essentially training yourself to not indulge in the instant gratification activities and save your dopamine for the delayed gratification activities. The next thing I have is habits. So once you've removed your bad habits and started to implement some other things into your lifestyle, now it's time to think about the habits for real. Now we need to decide what habits we'd like to ingrain into our new lifestyle, what habits we'd like to bring into it, and we can create a habit tracker in order to keep that and track that, see how much we progress over time. So create the habit tracker. I do up to 7. 7's a lot, so maybe like 4 or 5 where you're at, and then list 1 through 31 or however many days is in the current month that you're in, and then do a checkbox for each habit all the way down that list. And then every day as you go, so you have meditation. Based on where your skill level is at, you do a meditation for that day and you can check it off. So if you have never meditated before and you complete 30 seconds of meditation, that's a win. That counts, right? If you've been meditating for a year and you do a minute of meditation, you know for a fact you can do more than that. You know for a fact you can do better than that. And so based on where your skill level is actually at, check the box off, from doing the habit. So meditation, if it's a minute, if it's 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. What matters is where your skill level is at and that you're at that workload, right? So you don't want it to just be super easy. You want it to be just difficult enough to challenge you. Next thing is goals/purpose. So you need to have goals, you need to have objectives, you need to have something to work towards, or else all of this stuff is pointless, right? All of this stuff is just kind of like something to do, something to entertain yourself, waste your time, if you don't have goals and a purpose to work towards. So have a goal, have a purpose, something you're working towards, something you're trying to achieve. And honestly, you need to have a goal at all times, no matter what. So if you don't currently have goals, then what you should do is sit down, think to yourself, what's the biggest pain point in my life? What's the biggest problem in my life right now? And what can I do to change that? And then determine your goal, define your goal based on that change, okay? The next thing is deep work. So once you set your goals, and you should always have goals. If you don't have goals, that's a problem. You should always have a goal, especially as a man. You should always have a goal, something to work towards. The next thing is deep work, right? So deep work is how you're going to actually achieve your goal. Deep work are extended blocks of time dedicated to a specific task. So I'm in a deep work block right now. I came to the apartment. I think I got here at like 8:30. I'm going to be here until about 10:30, and I'm going to be working on recording videos the entire time I'm here. So all I'm doing is recording content. I'm not doing anything else in between. It's just recording content. That's what deep work is. Deep work is how we optimize productivity and get the most out of each work block. It is also optimal for flow state. I have been in a flow state pretty much this whole time. You see there's a couple of random cuts. I might have paused for a second and like zoned out a little bit, but for the most part, I've stayed in a clean flow state this entire video. And that's because I have nothing else with me except what I need to record. I could honestly show you guys my desk right now. I feel like this is so I have my laptop here. I'm uploading a video. That's why it's open and it's turned away from me. And it's also what's keeping my light on. So technically, this is here for a good reason. I have my mic, I have my script, and you can see I literally have nothing else except my water bottle. There we go. So yeah, I literally have nothing else on my desk except my water bottle. So there's nothing here to distract me. Everything here is for recording. I have my water bottle, so when my throat gets dry like it is right now, I don't have to go home and get water. So obviously everything here is optimized for me to be working on my business. And so that means that I'm in a flow state the whole time I'm here. There's nothing to distract me. If I wanted to distract myself with my phone, I'd have to turn off the video before finishing it and then pull it off of the little tripod thing, unplug my mic, and then go and do that. And even then, because I've curated this environment to be a work environment, that's all I ever want to do here. And so I'm optimized to be in a flow state and stay in a flow state, and I can get a lot of work done. Like, for example, I'll get my entire week's worth of work done this morning before I leave, before I go home and eat breakfast. And that's just because I'm focused on this deep work block. I'm going deep into just recording and creating the content. And that allows me to have more output as a result. So the next thing is sexual transmutation. I think sexual transmutation is probably one of the most important practices, one of the most important parts of this journey, right? Sexual transmutation is the process of taking your sexual energy and converting it from base form to a lighter, more subtle form that can be used for either manifestation, that can be used to heal your mind and body, that can be used to optimize for productivity, more growth and evolution. And sexual transmutation is our key to creation within this world. If we want to achieve our goals, we need to bring them into reality from a vision in our mind, and the sexual energy is the bridge to do so. And so if we don't tame and control our sexual energy, we won't have the ability to fully manifest any of our goals. And the other thing is growth and evolution. If we want to grow and we want to develop, the sexual energy is what drives us to do so. And so if we don't learn to control and utilize this fuel, it will control us and it will destroy us over time. And you can see this very evident in many different people who are sex addicted, who are addicted to porn. It destroys them from the inside out. And that isn't because of the content itself, right? Sex itself isn't bad. the release of semen and sexual energy over a long period of time depletes the individual of their own vitality. And so because you're depleted of your own vitality, you can't work to your full capacity. You can't live to your full capacity. You can't feel things to your full capacity. And so you become depressed, you become dull, you become numb. And as a result, you kind of give up on life, right? You get attached to the pleasures and the stimulus of life because you no longer feel stimulated within yourself. So sexual transmutation is key. I have a bunch of videos on my channel about sexual transmutation. I have a couple, I'm going to tell you guys a little secret. I have a couple scripts written, full hour-long videos on semen retention and sexual transmutation that go pretty in depth, pretty in detail. So if you guys are interested in sexual transmutation, you can look forward to that on my channel. That'll be within a few weeks. I have a trip coming up, and if I can't record them before the trip, I'll be recording them as soon as I get home from the trip. So look forward to those. The last thing that I have here, though, to start self-improvement is fitness. I put fitness last because I think it's the most important thing, but I think it's the most talked about as well. I think so many people have talked about fitness that it's almost become a watered down concept. Everybody thinks fitness is just lifting weights and getting muscular. Fitness itself is your body's ability to sustain exercise, sustain a workload. That can be resistance based, so that can be weight and repetitions, but that can also be cardiovascular. That can be distance running. That can be, time spent training. All of these things are your fitness. Your fitness is basically your body's ability to sustain exercise. And so when it comes to fitness, we need to develop good fitness. We need to be healthy in order to be happy. And so why I put fitness last is because I want it to sink deep. I want it to be important. I want it to be something that you actually think about, because if I put it first, it's going to sound like every other YouTuber that you've ever listened to. Yeah, how to start self-improvement, fitness, right? No, the reality is dopamine detoxing and controlling your habits. But then within that, well, what kind of habits do you want? You want habits that optimize your fitness, your work, and your business, and your lifestyle, your mentality, your social life, all these things. So one of the things is fitness. You want to be able to optimize your fitness. And so that's why I put it last, because I want it to be a fresh concept when we talk about it, right? Because fitness is probably the biggest key, right? It is the thing that got me on this path specifically, and it is the thing that seems to be the most consistent getting other people on this path. And so starting with fitness is actually wildly important. If you can just start by going to the gym, that'll be a major jump and a major step in the right direction. And so when it comes to fitness, though, it doesn't have to be the gym. You can do 1,000 different things fitness-wise and still be optimal, still be benefiting yourself and your health in the long term. And so that's the key to doing it, is when it comes to fitness, find something you love and enjoy. For me, snowboarding is my thing. I love snowboarding. I love big tricks. I love, large spins. I love corks and things like that. I think they're super fucking cool. I think backflips are sick as fuck. All of these things, this is just me. This is what I love. And so that sport is the best thing for me to focus on fitness-wise, right? For me to just develop in that sport fitness-wise. And then I also go to the gym still. I also do yoga. I also do all these things. I'm not saying any of them are bad, but fitness is more than just lifting weights and getting big muscles. For example, my girl wanted to get into fitness more. She wanted to get into exercising more, and she wanted to start optimizing her health. But what she told me was she didn't want to build muscles like all these, like all these fitness influencers, right? These bodybuilders. And I told her, I'm like, that's not all fitness is, right? That's not all there is to fitness. And that's just their specific path. That's just what they specifically chose to do within fitness. You can do anything you want within fitness. It's just exercise, period. Go outside for walks, right? Go outside for runs, bike, swim more. If you guys have a trampoline, go on the fucking trampoline and do a backflip. I'm telling you, it's super fun. But all of these different things that you could do that is still exercise, that if you just did consistently would make you a more fit and athletic person, And people just ignore it because, they think it has to be this perfect, optimal routine. But you don't have to do it one way or the other. Fitness is something that is specific to the individual. But anyway, fitness is very important. Start doing something fitness-wise. If it is the gym, start going to the gym. Start working out. Start lifting weights. But just do anything physical, because that will help you in pretty much every other area of your life. So that is all I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope it was helpful. If it was helpful, let me know in the comments. And if not, let me know in the comments as well. If you enjoyed and if you got something from it, you can go ahead and click the like button. And if you want more like this, go ahead and subscribe. And for those who are serious on their self-improvement and you want to get access to the Academy of Self-Mastery, if you want to get early access, get some early access to some of these courses as well, go ahead and click that first link in my description. Send me a DM. I'm quick to respond, so I'll get you sorted from there. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it was helpful, but that's all I got for you guys, and I'm out of here. Peace.